Hey y'all, we're back, and today we are covering Romans chapter 14. Romans 14 teaches that obedience to God means honoring your own convictions, extending grace to others, and choosing faith over flesh when no one else is watching. So the very first verse of chapter 14 says, accept other believers who are weak in faith and don't argue with them about what they think is right or wrong. Verse 2 says, for instance, one person believes it's all right to eat anything, but another believer with a sensitive conscience will eat only vegetables. So we are not to condemn anybody for their beliefs on what they should and should not eat. For example, if you see somebody who's a vegan and you're eating a steak, the person eating the steak shouldn't go to the person who's eating vegetables and be like, hey man, you're missing out on all these vitamins. Keep that between you and God, and vice versa. So if the vegans, hey, you shouldn't be eating meat, we have no room to condemn others. At the end of the day, we're all going to be judged by the number one judge, and that is God. Because right here it tells us in verse 12, yes, each of us will give a personal account to God. So let's stop condemning each other. Decide instead to live in such a way that you will not cause another believer to stumble and fall. So God's going to judge us ultimately. We all have to give him our personal account. I have to answer for my own flaws and reasonings, and you have to answer for yours. And verse 5, he tells us, in the same way, some think one day is more holy than another day, while others think every day is alike. That makes me think of some people practicing the Sabbath on Sunday and some people practicing the Sabbath on Saturday. I don't really think it matters too much what day it is, as long as we are pleasing God and we're doing it for God. That's what matters. We're not doing it for our own selfish ambitions, but we're doing it for God's glory. We're doing it to thank God. That's what matters. You see, in verse 14, it tells us, I know and am convinced on the authority of the Lord Jesus that no food in and of itself is wrong to eat. But if someone believes it is wrong, then for that person it is wrong. For example, if I'm eating a steak in front of a vegan and it offends him, instead of just being selfish, I should reach out to him and be like, hey man, if you don't want to see me eating meat, I will eat at another table so it doesn't offend you. Because in his heart of hearts, he believes that he should be eating only vegetables. I think this part right here hit me the hardest. In verse 23, it tells us, but if you have doubts about whether or not you should eat something, you are sinning if you go ahead and do it. For you are not following your convictions. If you do anything you believe is not right, you are sinning. I have a prime example of this from yesterday. So yesterday was a pretty stressful day for me. At the end of the day, it's Friday. I tell myself, oh man, I should get a glass of wine so I can help relax because today's just been so stressful. I was telling myself that, but immediately after that, I had this thought of, I don't want to rely on substance to get me through my stress. So I told myself, don't do it. You don't need that wine. I don't want to rely on drinking wine to get rid of my negative emotions. So I told myself, I'm going to get through this storm. God's going to get me through this storm of stress. And that's what happened. I trusted in God. I leaned on God. And later on, I went to a Christmas party. We had fun. There was no drinking involved. And I was able to cut back and not be so tense and stressed. And later on after the party, I was driving home and it made me think like, man, I'm just so grateful that I didn't give in to that temptation. I would have felt more convicted if I drank the wine. Not necessarily because it was drinking wine, but it was for drinking wine instead of trusting in God. And God got me through it. And I think every time he will get you through it. I don't think it's bad to drink wine. I think it's bad to lean on wine instead of leaning on God. And that's just a new perspective that I've been going through, that I've been walking in. And that's just one example. And to that note, we should not judge or criticize other Christians who exercise their freedoms in those areas. It's between you and God. It's between me and God. It's not between me and you. It's not between me, Paul, and whoever. It's between me and God. So if you feel that personal conviction when you're eating or drinking something and you act on it, it is a sin. But if you feel that conviction and you don't do it, then good job, man. So at the end of the day, we don't need to criticize other Christians, other believers. We don't need to make them stumble in their walk. If anything, we need to encourage others. And that's the main message of Romans 14. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe to my channel for more Bible content. Thank y'all, and God bless y'all.